for our time wash. So we'll head on down to that right now and take a look at Bradley Yu with Is It Phoenix. And he's going to kick things off with Serum Visions against Matt. Now, Matt finished overnight undefeated and still has an excellent record. He's 11-2, but as with our main match, this is kind of it. A loss here for Matt or Bradley would effectively eliminate them from top 8 competition. So there's a lot on the line for these players. This is very much down the stretch here on day number 2. This round and next, and then we're done with Swiss. So they really just need to hang on. Even with a draw, or excuse me, with a win here, they might be able to even draw in the next round. I mean, this could be a win in for top 8. It's that close.
I think for Matt it is, and Bradley used tiebreakers seemed really bad. So I think for Bradley it has to be a second win. But Matt might be able to draw in depending on pairings, tiebreakers holding up, because Matt started the tournament extremely well. For the preview of Game 1, again, the die roll is going to be pretty important. Matt's deck is a tiny bit faster because of the presence of Mox Opal than the Is It Phoenix deck. But, you know, Game 1, as we see often in Modern, you kind of have both strategies flying into the face of each other, and then we see what happens. Game 2 and 3 are where things get a lot more interesting. So once we kind of see how this develops, I'll set up how the post-board game works. But you see both players kind of developing, with Matt having a relatively slow draw. Probably has, though, a Clark Klein Ironworks in hand, which I see there. So trying to set that up for turn 4. The question is, can Bradley Yu deal enough damage in time? Once Matt puts the Clark Klein Ironworks in play, it's probably going to be trivial to take over the game. There's already a Darksteel Citadel and an Ichor Wellspring, and there's no counter magic in Bradley Yu's deck, aside from a one-off copy of Is It Charm, which would be incredibly powerful. Now, that's the card that Bradley wants access to. One Is It Charm. That might just swing the tide of the match completely.
Wow, that good, huh?
Yeah, especially Game 1, because Matt is probably never playing around counter magic from the Is It Phoenix deck. And that might be the value of Is It Charm. It isn't the most powerful card, and it does cost 2 in a deck that wants to load a bunch of spells, but you know, the versatility of it does give it a lot of value. That's a card I see floating around in these blue-red decks. You know, 1-2 of, and
yep.
I find it's either the best card or the worst card in the deck.
Let's see if Thoughtscour can hit a Phoenix. Oh, it did.
And we still have 1 mana floating from the Manamorphose earlier. I'm not sure what Bradley floated, but most likely the same color as the spell in hand. Also has not made a land drop. So we're likely going to see that Phoenix coming back this turn. Yep. This is really about Bradley trying to maximize damage output this turn, and then next turn either finishing the game off or trying to do the hardest work possible to get that 1 copy of Is It Charm. And there's Faithless Looting, the first spell. Discarding Arclight Phoenix and Fing in the Ice. I think the time for Fing in the Ice has passed, so it makes sense to discard it here. And now 2 Arclight Phoenixes coming back, swinging at Matt for 6 damage. Matt's going to be at 8 from all these attacks from this turn and next. So the question is, Bradley, you have an Is It Charm or a damage on top, which is not actually that easy to do, but possible with access to Monastery Swiftspear in the deck. Mox Opal, though, completely breaking symmetry of the play draw, and Matt is just starting to go off. And that's the power of Mox Opal in this deck. If Matt has access to a Scrap Trawler, that might... There we go. There's the Scrap Trawler. Now it's going to be really hard for Bradley to come out of this. Bradley can remove the Scrap Trawler with something like a Lightning Axe or a Lightning Bolt in response, but even then the Ichor Wellspring can get back the Chromatic Star, drawing a card, drawing more cards, generating mana from the Ironworks, essentially allowing Matt to pull ahead and hopefully draw into another Scrap Trawler and put this game behind. And there's the Lightning Axe on Scrap Trawler in response to Chromatic Star being sacrificed, targeting Mox Opal from the Scrap Trawler. So in response, Matt sacrifices the Ichor Wellspring to get back Chromatic Star. Then Scrap Trawler dies, gets back Ichor Wellspring, and the Mox Opal comes back.
Icar Wellspring back on the battlefield here as Man X continues his ways.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's another one. That's a lot of fuel.
Yeah, and we're going to just see Matt probably take this game down. But that Mox Opal was really key. Matt was a turn behind on the race. I mean, Bradley still needed something, either in his charm for disruption or 8 additional points of damage, but at least would have a chance. While here, Matt with Chromatic Star, Icar Wellspring, Mox Opal, and Scrap Trawler is going to demonstrate a loop, ending up with... Oh, sorry, we need Mirror Retriever still. But Matt is going to end up drawing a lot of cards, generating a lot of mana, and eventually try to get to a Mirror Retriever, demonstrate a loop where Matt can draw as many cards as desired, and take the game down by with an infinitely recurring Pirate Spellbomb. And there's a second Mox Opal, just adding more mana. Matt at this point has essentially all the mana that he desires, and these Icar Wellsprings are going to be plenty of card fuel, since each one of them sacrifices a card, getting back a Chromatic Star, which generates mana and a card, and then you get back Mox Opal, which generates mana. So Matt is really pulling very far ahead here. And there's the Pirate Spellbomb. So Matt really just needs the Mirror Retriever to close this game down.
Look at all those cards in Matt's hand.
Yeah.
How about another one?
You know, a card is, as we call it, broken when it generates mana and cards.
There it is.
There's the Mirror Retriever.
And that's going to be game. Bradley Yu's going to go ahead and pack them up. Bradley's probably seen this enough times over his recent few months playing tournament Magic. And that is game one going to Matt Nass.
Yeah, that Mox Opal draw from... Or it could be that Matt had the Mox Opal and decided to keep it as a surprise. There was no need to kind of run it out there. As for the texture of this post-board game, the key cards from Bradley to take this one down: 2 Abrades, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, Disdainful Stroke, not so great against Psy Master Fopterus, which is going to be Matt's main plan in a matchup like this, but, good against Ironworks, so you kind of have to have it. We're not going to see Dispel. Well, his advice rate is not where we want to be. 2 Spell Pierce and 2 Surgical Extraction, though. Kind of nice little package. On that side, we're going to we're probably not going to see Lightning Bolts come in. There might be 1 or 2, but this isn't really the matchup you want. I think Matt is going to stay relatively lean. Maybe Tolmout's Crypt, Swan Song, 2 Psy Master Fopterist. Negates are a little clunky against the discard, against the counter magic from Bradley Yu, but it depends. I'm not actually sure what Matt's sides out, but probably is going to stay relatively close to the main deck configuration. This matchup, as in many, gets a lot closer for the opponent of the Ironworks of Ironworks. Pre-board, it tends to be almost always in Ironworks' favor, and post-board, it tends to still be in Ironworks' favor anyways.
Must be nice.
Yeah. What was Matt Nass's win rate? I mean, there were a few losses this tournament.
It was over 90%.
It hit over 90, and then he started losing matches.
And also, they filtered out buys and intentional draws from that, too. So those were, actual played matches, clean.
Yeah. Kind of the only stat I've seen. I saw another stat, which was that Kai Booth's single elimination match record was something like 78.5%.
Oh, when he
is that better?
the Sunday closer himself.
Yeah.
Kai's Sunday record is unfathomable when you actually sit back and look at it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
But yeah, here by the way, Bradley is just setting up for a power turn that we've seen often with Monastery Swift Spear, mana morphos, cycling through the deck, generating more power. But Matt Nass, already having access to Mox Opal, can go off as soon as next turn. Of course, Bradley could play a land, just represent a Ceremonious Rejection or a Spell Pierce in this spot. But otherwise, if Bradley doesn't have a land here, this is coast clear for Matt Nass. If Matt has a Clarkline Ironworks, Matt's going to take this one probably down.
Let's see if he has it. The key combo piece. It's what he needs.
And
there it is. There's the KCI. Thank you, Mox Opal.
Thank you, Mox Opal. That's the greatest summary of this deck.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mox Opal.
Yeah. with a little hat tip to Ancient Stirrings in there as well.
Yeah, and I can see Matt having access to Scrap Trawler in hand, casts it, and yeah, start going off. The only thing Matt really has to consider here is something like Surgical Extraction, but if Bradley, you had it, I think it doesn't really. The problem is Matt can always answer a Surgical Extraction by re-sacrificing one of the spare artifacts in play, so it doesn't really do anything here. Even if Matt had, was targeting Mox Opal, Matt could just retarget Mox Opal with another sacrificed artifact, and it makes Surgical Extraction not really even a disruption piece. And and with these Wellspring, Scrap Trawler, Chromatic Star, it's going to be a really trivial end to this game.
It's really funny. The chat is, well, they don't love the KCI deck kind of in general. I think just because of situations like this where it's like, okay, we get to see him just kind of fiddle around with cards for a while and then inevitably win the game. But I've got a hot take on it.
Oh, hot take.
Right. So if you should love this no matter what, right? Because if you're a big Matt Nass fan or a KCI fan, well, you're obviously happy. He's crushing, right?
Yeah.
He's going to win this game. If you're not, Matt Nass is probably your best chance of getting a piece of this deck banned at some point because he wins everything with it all the time. So either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Love it or hate it.
You can either that or go get a sandwich, while he combos up.
Well, we'll narrate how this goes. There's a second Clark Clan Ironworks.
Sure.
At this point, there's no Mox Opal in the graveyard. I guess you could. Matt could have been. There could have been a Surgical Extraction, but again, Matt could just sacrifice the redundant Clark Clan Ironworks to save the Ichor Wellspring. And look at the amount of mana Matt Nass is generating on top of drawing all these cards. We are
he
at
has 16 mana in his pool right now.
It was more, right? It was like 17.
Wow.
We're down to a lowly 14 here.
By the way, we reran the numbers, and Matt Nass's win percentage with this Clark Clan Ironworks deck has dipped to an embarrassing 87%.
I'm embarrassed to watch this.
His 2 losses today, yeah.
This is
shameful stuff, Matt Nass.
Yeah, just
boy. Now you said I'm not going to put you on the spot to promise or anything, but you said that you thought Matt's tiebreakers looked pretty good, where he may be in a position to draw in with a win here.
Yeah, and it really just depends on Matt's pairing.
Right, of course. But still, I mean,
it's definitely possible that Matt is making top 8 with a win here and a good pairing next round if the tiebreakers are holding.
God, he has top 8'd and/or won everything he's touched with this deck. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, people are letting him do this, so
yeah, we'll see for how long.
Until when is Stony Silence a main deck card? The problem is the rest of the modern formats in the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the type of format you can get away with this in because people just can simply not tune their deck to beat you only. They have to consider the other options. Yeah. I mean, if you sat down to play a modern tournament, let's say you were going to play GP, and I'll be generous, you made day 2. Congratulations, Eduardo.
Thank you.
So you're playing 15 rounds of Swiss.
Oh, come on,
I'm taking your buys. I'm sorry. They're mine now. How many of those matches on average would you actually play against KCI? 1? 2?
If you're doing well, 2 or 3.
2 or 3 because it tends to go to the top.
If your goal is to win the tournament, I would say 2 or 3. If your goal is to just come to the Grand Prix, have fun, that's totally fine. But you will face it less.
Okay.
Probably. But if your goal is to try to top 8 and you're assuming that the decks you're facing, then I would believe to play against Clark Clan Ironworks at least twice, and maybe another Mox Opal deck like a Heart and Skin.
But even then, even in your peak scenario where it's 3 out of 15 rounds. You still can't afford to tune your deck just to beat this.
I mean, you could decide to enter the tournament with a deck that has a favorable matchup against it.
Yes, that you could do, but you can't make main deck changes that, to the detriment of the other matchups, right? Yeah. What about the other 12 rounds or even 13 rounds that you play? Yeah.
I think the coolest deck I've seen that probably has a decent matchup against Clark Clan Ironworks was the blue-black mill deck that Jason Chung popularized, or Skurt popularized on stream.
Yep.
Plays a bunch of extirpates and surgical extraction.
Did you just try to pronounce his Magic Online name?
I really tried.
Wow, that was nice. Solid effort. I've never even tried.
Yeah. But yeah, just, he has a really high win percentage with the blue-black mill deck, so it's probably just a reasonable deck in its own right. And Surgical Extraction Game 1 is definitely a way to shut down this Ironworks deck.
Yep.
Archive trap them with Field of Ruin and then Surgical the Clarkline Ironworks.
Okay.
And then we're good. We're
That's
in
business.
Yeah.
I mean, the deck can't win without it realistically, right? It has
Not
to do
game
some-
one.
yeah,
Game two with Sai.
They can Sai and do
Well,
stuff,
I mean, if they have Sai. Sai is their big out, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah. But if you're looking to beat this Clarkline Ironworks deck, the Blue-Black Mill deck is a reasonable option that's a little off the wall, that could be a bit cool, and a way to beat this deck.
Okay. By the way, Eduardo and I are just having a little chat here because Matt Nass is going through the motions on the victory here. We're giving him credit for a win already. If you'd like to go get a sandwich, maybe run an errand, this would probably be a good time to take care of that.
Just keep the...
And
Actually,
there's
that's
the loop.
it.
We found the loop, and that is game over. Matt Nass wins 2-0 over Bradley Yu. And Is It Phoenix? I'm sorry. Do you want to cover up your...
No.
Is it
win or loss, I believe.
All right.
I believe.
can
There are
respect
still
that.
some Is It Phoenix decks in the field.
There are. In fact, there was 2 in the feature match area this round, and they were playing in elimination matches. And one of them won, defeating Paul Rietzel. And that was Steven Solis. So could have one in the top 8. We will depend. Now, we've still got a little more time walk to bring you because still about 4 minutes left in the round, and then there's the kind of turnover time as well. So let's head on down and see. Uh-oh. Look who's back. Sam Black.
Man.
Yeah, Cart Clan Ironworks. Sam says, look, I recognize when a card's broken, or a pair of cards in this case is broken. I'm going to play them. If you're going to let me play them, I'm going to play them. And Sam has had a very similar trajectory to Matt. They both were undefeated and now both have picked up 2 losses but are potentially playing for top 8 here.
Yeah. This Relic of Progenitus is like one of the few cards that you can play to interact with the combo in game 1, but it tends to be very easy to answer for the same reasons as when I was talking about Surgical Extraction. If Sam has Crop Trawler and Clarkline Ironworks, you can kind of re-get the card by sacrificing another artifact. And it's difficult to always keep up this Relic. And here, without Mana Acceleration, this is already a hard matchup game 1. No Mana Acceleration from Liu is putting him quite behind, in my view. Sam's hand is weak, though. The Mana Acceleration in the Mind Stone's there, but it's a lot of lands, and it's going to take time to develop. Probably we're going to see Sam cycle through some cards since that Inventor's Fair is not yet active. Although Scrap Trawler can start generating value, but again, now that Relic of Progenitus is good if the Ironworks isn't there. It's a lot harder. There's not so many artifacts you can sacrifice. It's a lot easier to interact.
And that's something that Sam's only going to do if he has to, right? Yeah. I've heard Sam talk about playing this deck before, and he said, one of the kind of base level heuristics that you should follow when you play a deck like Cart Clan Ironworks is that you actually want to try to keep those on the table for as long as you can so that when you do play the Ironworks, now you're generating real value. Where if you use all of the cantrip artifacts to find the Ironworks and then you play it and there's nothing left, you actually aren't really doing what you want to be doing.
Right, and that's kind of the power of this Relic, right? If Sam decided to sacrifice some artifacts, try to get to the Clarkline Ironworks, then, Liu could just pop the Relic of Progenitus and there's nothing left. Sam doesn't really want to play the Scrap Trawler because it could get hit by Lightning Bolt, Anger of the Gods, even something in Liu's deck as like Flame Slash. Makes sense here for Sam to just be patient. Can't even activate that Inventor's Fair in this spot, but just wants to pass, buy time. Liu missing Mana Acceleration means that there's more time, but the Sakura Tribalder just accelerated the clock by that critical turn. That would be a real steal, though, for Liu. Liu winning game 1 would be an absolute steal. I think this matchup is extremely favored for the Ironworks deck in game 1. And Sam here can just patiently play a land, pass the turn, Inventor's Fair for Clarkline Ironworks, and go off next turn. And there's not much that Liu can do.
Right. Getting him from 22 to 0 next turn just isn't going to be a thing. He can set up for the next turn win, but that might be way too late.
Yeah. Liu is probably going to be forced to play Primeval Titan through Summoner's Pact next turn, but I don't think there's a way out of it. There's not really anything that Liu could represent as well. Like, not game 1. Game 2, maybe you could argue, there's a Nature's Claim somewhere there. Mm-hmm. Liu could decide to not play Primeval Titan in order to keep up the activation of Relic of Progenitus, but I don't think that's a winning position, unfortunately. This is a really rough spot for Liu. You have to hope that Sam doesn't have access to Scrap Trawler in hand, After all, Liu just doesn't know. Might hope that Sam just has Clarkline Ironworks and is trying to get there, but instead, Liu deciding to untap with the mindset of keeping this Relic of Progenitus up and is rewarded here by drawing another one.
Okay, interesting.
I'm still interested that this Tribe Elder hasn't been sacrificed.
Does he feel like it needs to do the incidental damage? It just doesn't feel like the time frame works out for that, right? He can't get him to 18.
With a Lightning Bolt, but I think Liu's hand has a Flame Slash, which is way worse for not just the damage to Sam's dome, but also it's a sorcery.
Oh, it's so brutal.
And there
we go. Yeah. You mentioned this line a minute ago here, Eduardo. That is Inventor's Fair being sacrificed, and he's going to search up, you guessed it, Clarkline Ironworks, the KCI itself.
Yep.
Now, so again, you mentioned that he needs to have a scrap trawler to really kind of get things rolling here. Is that the key card at this point? Because Helio, you know, if he gets to untap from here, could do some serious damage.
Yeah. That's you hit the key problem. Gets to untap.
Right, but I'm saying from a viewer perspective, does Sam need to have a scrap trawler, which by the way he does?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, Sam could draw a number of cards and still get there anyways, but the scrap trawler is going to be really key. We're probably going to see here the Clarkline Ironworks first. Sam's starting to sacrifice some artifacts. You know, the relics will be a disruption piece here. But not too much.
He's got the scrap trawler in his hand here.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah. That's not the one you want to cast.
Well, you said yes. I'm like, I thought we were playing the KCI first, but
you definitely play the KCI first.
Yeah, and of course that was just simply a mishandling of cards, not a strategic error from Sam. You can see that he's tapped 4 mana. It clearly meant to cast Clarkline Ironworks, so he picked that up. This is not one of those scenarios. Look, there's a lot of times in Magic where you're not allowed to take back a play once you've made it, but this isn't the type of scenario that type of rule is designed for.
No, and over time, people have been a lot more, you know, gentle on the fact what is intent rather than what happened.
Right, and this, you know, I mean, at least in my mind, it's very. I mean, you don't tap 4 mana and then just drop a scrap trawler on the battlefield. So,
I mean, there probably was. We saw a light pause. It is time walk, but probably there was a very short judge question here. I mean, Liu was allowed to you know, check, but yeah, here losing the Darksteel Citadel. With no land drops, that's the easy card to lose to Relic of Progenitus' ability. But this Scrap Trawler is going to be, dangerous. I mean,
now Helio has 2 copies of Relic. Like, how big of an issue is this for Sam?
Not too much. It is a little bit of disruption, but
it seems like it would be really bad for him. But you're saying he can just kind of work right through it. I mean, isn't Relic supposed to be, like, good against these graveyard decks?
It's not this one.
Insane, right? It's just, the deck is so resilient.
Yeah, Sam doesn't need to return this Darksteel Citadel, so decides instead to sacrifice. Interestingly, didn't seem to draw a card off the Terrarian.
Did he not draw it?
I don't think so.
You're right, he didn't, because he's had that land in hand. He hasn't played a land yet for the turn. He had that Yavimaiakos for the whole time.
Yeah, he can... Terrarian, I'm pretty sure he could have drawn a card there. Again, if you're tuning in, this is game 1. So Sam, at most, would be concerned here with a Lightning Bolt on Scrap Trawler and is probably playing around that card, but certainly is not concerned about something like Nature's Claim that might come out of the sideboard.
All right, so the first of the 2 Relic of Progenitus are going to get sacrificed, leaving Sam Black with no graveyard left to speak of.
For now.
For now.
For now.
But he's got another relic, so Sam's going to have to kind of plow through this as well.
Yeah, but every card is cycling and generating mana. It's just very...
It's true. Many of them are.
Yeah, so here... With free mana, Sam can sacrifice this Mind Stone to get back the Chromatic Star. The other option Sam has was to play a Mind Stone first and kind of threaten to, you know, get back the star a second time. But I think this is fine. If the Mind Stone and the Chromatic Star go, then Sam can start looping Chromatic Sphere. But it is worse than Star. So I wonder if here... it is kind of close. You do want to generate the mana off Star and draw the card. So activating Sphere is probably worse at this early junction. But you can just see like how even 2 Relics of Progenitus are just really not likely to get the job done. Yep, we can search a land. It does get much better for Liu. If Liu ever gets a chance to untap something like a Titan with that fetch land, and Valakuts would mean access to an instant speed way to kill a Scrap Trawler. So that could be quite key in, if the turn ever gets passed back. But I think even with the available resources for Sam, it should be possible to get there. Liu here, though, finning the deck in order to increase the chances of drawing a Lightning Bolt. Draws Primeval Titan, though. And yeah, if you thought there was an Ancient Grudge in Liu's hand, it's actually a Flame Slash. The 2 cards have very similar art. Yeah, here still draws a card. Chromatic Star. Up to 5. And there's Mox Opal, so mana is no longer an issue. Mind Stone is going to also get... So if you're wondering what Mind Stone does, it now reads... Let's see, 3, 4. Add free mana to your mana pool and draw 2 cards.
Is that good, or...?
I think so.
Seems reasonable.
It's a reasonable card.
There's your favorite Ancient Stirrings. What does he need to find here?
Oh, sorry. I said add free mana, but it might actually be more.
Players George Shavaria and Stephen Perlman. George Shavaria and Stephen Perlman.
I think free mana's correct. Anyways, Sam just going ahead and plowing for the deck. Mox Opal generating all the mana, so Sam can now focus on cards. And Sam has access to, to another Ironworks in hand, so that can get converted into one of the 2 mana artifacts and another Mind Stone. But here,
this is incredible. This is through 2 Relic of Progenitus on a
just,
deck that requires you to get cards back from your graveyard repeatedly, and it just didn't matter. Those are supposed to be hate cards. Those are supposed to work. It just doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter.
And you knew. I mean, I asked you. I said, "Hey, what? Isn't this a problem?" And you're just like, "No,
nope."
And it's not.
Sam, yeah.
It's just weird to think that, right? Like, we think of Modern as such a silver bullet sideboard type format, and it's just like, this one doesn't work.
Nope. You need something like Rest in Peace. I think here, though, with a Lightning Bolt on Scrap Trawler, Liu might have had a good shot, actually. Scrap Trawler was kind of the limit card on Sam's side. Sam had mana. Sam had ways to draw cards, but Scrap Trawler was the only one really generating advantage. So if Liu's Flame Slash was a Lightning Bolt, there would have been a spot for Liu here to take over. Or at least have a shot.
But instead, as we've seen many times, Crocline Ironworks going off, not only just going off, but also going off through hate. It
here's
actually is very good. And there's Spine of Ishsaw now from Sam Black. And that is a card that is going to continually come back from the graveyard. Bink, right back into hand.
Plus getting back something else that's going to generate cards and mana.
Right.
So here... By the way, while this is happening, okay, so to explain what's going to happen, the Spine of Ishna is going to loop. This is why Liu is conceding. But you had a story, right? Because Pyotr Glogarsky... Oh, it was Brian David Marshall's story. Pyotr Glogarsky played this in Atlanta. Matt Nass laughed at the inclusion, apparently. And, of course, now it's playing 1.
Of course. It's so sweet.
Yes.
It does look kind of weird, but it actually ends up being super, super good.
Yeah. For the post-board game here, of course, Titan Shift has a better chance since Sam is not going to board in a ton of cards. Swan Song in the hand is one of the more key ones, but we're going to see a Braid, Ancient Grudge, Free Damping Sphere, Destructive Revelry, Reclamation Sage, another Relic of Progenitus. At least it cycles.
Oh, okay.
And maybe 2 Tireless Tracker. With a lot of cheap interaction, Tireless Tracker becomes this kind of interesting mid-range threat. I do wonder, by the way, should KCI play Tireless Tracker?
No.
No?
I'm going to say no.
No? It makes artifacts.
It does. That's true. Okay, I'm in. Yeah.
I think Sai is just much better for what it's worth.
When you sacrifice them, do you get to draw the card?
What, the clues?
Yeah.
You have to pay mana.
You have to pay.
Yeah.
I'm out then.
You're out? Okay.
Only if I got the card, too.
Greed.
Yeah.
That's only the rest of the deck that can do that.
I know, literally every other card. I am greedy. What do you want from me? I want my value.
I understand. That's why you're a Spine of Ishna gentleman.
Yeah.
Mox Opal and Clarkline Ironworks in hand as well here for Sam.
By the way, we're seeing the Mox Opal Ancient Stirrings. We've talked about it a lot this weekend, Eduardo, but boy, is it really showing its head. In the feature match area this round, it was packed with Faithless Looting, Mox Opal, and Ancient Stirrings decks of different types. Yeah. And boy, these cards are dominating Modern at this point. Also, really interesting discussion that we had with Paul earlier, and there we go, Mindstone, was around the way that modern metagame works, right? Because getting a Modern deck is difficult, right? It requires a lot of dedication to get your hands on a fully fleshed out Modern deck. That's hard to do, right? And what that means is that you're less likely to want to change that, right? Yeah. I mean, you know, just if you decide, oh, you know, there's a new deck, I'd rather play that for a while. That's not such an easy decision when it comes to Modern and getting the cards. But if you're a professional player,
you'll play whatever you think makes sense.
Right,
yes.
you're gonna get your hands on the cards.
Come on. I mean, Sam had the turn-free Clarkline Ironworks with Swansong backup and decided to continue by drawing Scrap Trawler.
All right.
You're in now.
Yeah, sure, I'm in. Go, Sam. Whatever.
What?
I'm in. I'm just going to convert.
Oh,
Huge KCI fan now.
At least, I mean, Sam
I'm
doesn't
go
have...
try to find the artwork for KCI and hang it up behind me when I stream. That's the new plan. But it is interesting, right? Because look at some of the players. You know, like Sam's a perfect example of somebody who's going to pick the best deck for the weekend and has access to the cards.
Right, but I wanted to notice, to point out something interesting, where Sam decides here to do something that's popular with a lot of these Ironworks players. When you're in a spot which is marginal to go off, but you are ahead, a lot of times it's correct to pass rather than to go off this turn. Especially with something like Swansong, you can prevent a lot of issues. So at that point, Sam is going, you know what? I just want to pass the turn and give myself the best chance to go off next turn, having access to Inventor's Fair.
All right, how does this interact with that plan?
You Swansong a break.
He must Swansong this.
Yes.
Okay.
Ancient Grudge would actually have been an amazing draw from Liu, since that would have been able to kill the Ironworks. And then Sam's plan might have been a little foiled. But Sam still has access to Inventor's Fair down the line if it was needed. That 2/2 bird
That's
is...
your bird. There's your bird. Enjoy.
Here you go. Enjoy. Yes, enjoy. I think here Liu's best chance... I don't think this relic is going to stop a Scrap Trawler from doing nonsense. Not with this position. Liu's best chance might be to just sacrifice the relic and hope to draw the right piece. I think if Sam untaps and gets access to mana from the Ironworks with Inventor's Fair, it's over, because Sam can essentially, even if Liu draws a Grudge or something of that ilk, Sam can just sacrifice a bunch of artifacts to Ironworks with Trawler, and yeah, I think Liu's best chance there, as slim as it was to sacrifice Relic, because I don't think one Relic activation is going to stop this nonsense.
Right, last game we saw him pass the turn with 2 Relics
and it didn't,
available, and it was certainly not enough.
Right, so I think here Liu should have sacrificed the Relic, try to draw into the Hail Mary Ancient Grudge, a Destructive Revelry.
Hey, this is great news for Sam Black, though. He's sitting at 11-2, and maybe with a win here, might be even able to draw in, depending on how his tiebreakers look.
Yeah, it's closer. Oh, and there's no, it's Sphere at least. No, it is Mox Opal. No, sorry. It is, I believe, Chromatic Sphere. The cards went really fast, you know, because in Time Walk we can speed things up.
Yeah, we're kind of turboing it up a little bit.
Here I think Sam is a little closer than Matt Nast on whether to draw or not, but it is close. His Sam's tiebreakers are really good. Again, you know, starting undefeated, it's great. I mean, I saw something in the chat that was really a nice suggestion, which I will double check.
Was the suggestion ban something?
Oh no, I've seen that one.
Because I've seen that suggestion a time or two as well.
Is that the Hive Minds?
Yeah, well, they always want to ban everything, though.
Right, but somebody pointed out Ground Seal might maybe be better than Relic of Progenitus, except it doesn't hit Arclight Phoenix. So yeah.
Maybe not then.
I think it does stop Scrap Trawler, though, which, you know, is nice. But, yeah, that's the... I think because of Arclight Phoenix's existence, Relic is probably better. You're also paying 1 and 1 rather than having to commit 2 up front. And here we're kind of seeing Sam do the thing. Now that Relic is gone, Liu hopefully drew some way to get around this. But with Inventor's Fair in play, Sam can essentially just go off even if Liu drew the right card for the job. Just look at this. Just drawing card. Oh, there's a Nicker Wellspring. So that's just more cards, more mana. I think it's going to be trivial for Sam to take this one down with access to Inventor's Fair. Although here, Liu could have responded to the if there was an answer to Chromatic Sphere, since Inventor's Fair could not be sacrificed, since there were only 2 artifacts.
There was a window there?
Yes.
But does he have anything anyway?
Probably not.
He's just sitting on his hands. I think he's done.
Yeah.
And now we get to see Turbo mode. This is where Turbo really comes in handy.
Yeah, and Sam having access in hand to negate with floating blue mana. Mirror Retriever, Scrap Trawler, yep.
And that is going to be game. Sam Black wins it. He is now sitting potentially 1 match, or even if he gets a fortunate pairing here, 1 draw step away from the top 8. And that's the same thing as Matt Nass, right?
Is that what round 15 is called now, the draw step?
Potentially. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have the last round of Swiss play to determine who makes it into the top 8 and who doesn't. Don't go anywhere.